13 weeks down, just a few precious regular season weeks left to go, or in my case, just a few wretched weeks left to go before we get to the off season where positive changes can actually happen for my team. But for everyone else, or a lot of other teams, there's still some fun to be had here. So let's get into this one. This is where the game, I'm Luke and that's Michael. We're going to do our picks today. We're going to use the NFL Pick'em site, which is this exact thing right here. We're going to get started with the Thursday night game, which would be the Cowboys going to the Lions. We've already touched on this game some in a separate video talking about, when we talk about our Cowboys stuff. But for this one, let's make our pick here. Michael, who do you have winning this game? It's a relatively close game, it looks like. Who's got it?
Yeah, this really should be a very fascinating game. I think on paper, I get why they have the Lions as the clear favorite here. They're playing at home. It could be pretty cold, all that sort of stuff. It should be very interesting from that regard. The point differential on offense between these two is 1. They're both very high power, very effective offenses. The defense, one might say, is a bit of a difference between the two as they've given up 75 points less than Dallas. So I get the reason why things are leaning in the direction. I am actually going to take Dallas in this game. They've just played the Eagles and they've just played the Chiefs, and they've won both of those games. Now, this is a better offense, a more productive offense than either one of those teams. It will be a bigger test of that defense than they've had with the last 3 weeks. I do think one of the other things that's kind of leaning in Dallas's favor on that note is how many injuries Detroit has. People should play, but I think they're going to be kind of banged up. We'll see how that goes. The big question mark in that game is going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown. So we'll see how that goes, but I'm going to take the Cowboys as an upset, I guess, in that game. I don't think I see this as this much of an upset, but I get why they have Detroit listed.
Yeah, I mean, there's still some inherited stats there. Some your defense has allowed 75 more points or whatever. It's just like, I mean, some of that's got to be due to the way your season started. And so it's not the more recent trend. So if we were power ranking right this very second, this would be an interesting battle because it's more based on how you are this very second, which is why I kind of agree with you. I think Dallas has a really good shot here. Certainly not an obvious pick. It's certainly not like, oh, you're crazy if you're picking Detroit. It's not that at all. But yeah, I think they've got a really good shot at this one. So
one last. Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say one last thing I was going to say on that is that we have a pretty similar last 3 game comparison, right? Like we played the Eagles and we played the Chiefs. They played the Eagles and the Packers. They split. Oh, they lost both of those games against playoff caliber teams, and they beat the Giants in between. And we beat the Raiders. I think they're fairly comparable. So again, it's just trend. I think our trend right now is up, and theirs is plateaued a bit. So we'll see how they do.
Yeah, and some of those injuries we talked about, Amon-Ra St. Brown being a big one. If he plays, I'll understand these odds a little bit more. But if he doesn't, that team is just not quite the same without him. So we'll see. Jahmyr Gibbs could go off, but hopefully you guys will have your own players doing that kind of thing. So getting into Sunday, we started off with a bird battle with the Seahawks and the Falcons. The Seahawks playing really well. Sam Darnold has come down to earth in the last few games. Obviously, he had that really nasty one where he threw 4 picks against the Rams, and he's been a bit more tame than he was to start out the year, but he was just going crazy. But that being said, they still have one of the best rosters in the NFL, and they have a top 5 defense going against the Falcons that don't have much going for them right now. They still have an elite pass rush as a group. They're kind of the reverse of not the reverse, but the other option that is like what the Browns are. Like the Browns have a great pass rush. It's mostly Myles Garrett. Like their pass rush is this great committee of some young guys and this good blitzes and things like that is my understanding. So they're kind of hitting it from every different angle. I think that could maybe turn this game not in their favor, but to keep it from being absolutely embarrassing. But it seems like this should be Seattle's game to win, or rather their game to lose if they want to just ruin it. But who do you have here?
Yeah, I do. I agree. I think this is the Seahawks game to lose. There are elements on the Falcons that can work really well. Their defense that might make this a real game. I don't think Seattle should overlook them, but Seattle's just playing too good of football right now. Falcons are kind of finding ways to lose often, so I'll take the Seahawks in this one.
Yeah, hurts every time. All right, so then we go. We've got the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens heavily favored. Steelers reeling of a bad loss to the Buffalo Bills. Ravens keep on surging. I think they lost their last game, but they've been winning for the most part. So, whatever potential love affair, honeymoon period seems to have hit there for a minute with Aaron Rodgers, is mostly gone now. But we'll see if he's got something left here. The Ravens, obviously not invincible. This will be for the division, at least for a moment. So who do you have winning this one?
Yeah, this one's a tough one because I mean the Ravens showed you were just talking about the love affair with Aaron Rodgers. It's the Lamar Jackson love affair as well. It's like, man, he came back, they started winning games, everything looked good. They lose to Cincinnati and Joe Burrow's return. All of a sudden it's like, this division's all up in the air again. I don't really know what to think. Um, the Steelers are just very questionable. I don't. Both teams are questionable. But the Steelers, I just don't trust them as much, and it's their defense side of the ball that I really don't trust. So I'm going to take the Ravens in this one, but I don't think it's nearly this lopsided. I expect this to be a football game. I could be wrong, but I expect this to be a game between the two, as they're kind of both desperately trying to climb to the top of that pile.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be interesting. That division plays itself so funny, like that Baltimore-Cincinnati matchup. So we'll see if the Steelers can get the Ravens to stub their toe a little bit here. But we'll see if they can get. I feel like Derrick Henry is not the key here, but we talked about it some with the Dallas game, where if Javonte Williams has 100 yards, that probably means that Dallas won that game. I think you could copy and paste that idea to this game for the Ravens. If Derrick Henry ends up with 100 yards and a touchdown, that probably means the Ravens won. So we'll see. Hopefully, at least it's a good old AFC North matchup. Next, we've got a less compelling game. We've got the Tennessee Titans and the Cleveland Browns. The Browns still doing the one thing that they do really well. They do it well every week. We are on record break watch for Myles Garrett still. He only got one last week, only one sack a week. I know that guy, they ought to just cut him. But this week against the Titans, everyone's going to be watching this game, oddly enough, just for who got the sack. And we'll see if Myles Garrett can approach that record a little bit more. This really does seem like the perfect spot for it. And the other even bigger news than that, of course, is that they opened the 21-day window for Deshaun Watson, the Cleveland Browns did. So that's, of course, huge. Just kidding. Who do you have winning this game?
Yeah, I do actually agree with this. I think that it's funny to pick a 93% 3-win team in anything, but I do think that it's that different between these two teams. Titans struggle so much on offense against teams that have no defense. I think against the Browns, they're likely to just get eaten up. It'll be another interesting game to see how the Browns offense evolves, maybe, or continues to regress. Just learning about themselves. I do see them coming out with a win here, and I kind of think it'll be a pretty straightforward one, couple score kind of game, I would think. So yeah, I'll take the Browns.
Yeah, well, that's probably right. I mean, the Browns at least do one thing well, and I like Quinshon Judkins as well. So they at least have a running back that's looking good young player. It will be interesting to see if they win this game. Then the storyline might actually be on top of Myles Garrett potentially breaking some record. I think Shedeur Sanders is like 2-1 in his first 3 games. It's a fun little narrative, but we'll see how it goes. So then, if I remember correctly, this next one, we get an incredibly rare thing. We get a 50-50 matchup.
That's true.
A true coin toss game. We've got the Colts going to play the Jags for the AFC South. The Colts have come down an awful long way from juggernaut looking like they're unbeatable to they just keep losing games now. And we're not entirely sure why. Part of the reason why this game is probably a bit closer is it looks like Sauce Gardner is out. He is on an injured reserve, at least for the next 4 weeks. So we'll see if they can make the playoffs and he could come back for that time. And on the other side of things, the Jags are expecting to get Brian Thomas Jr. back. So that all being said, Jonathan Taylor is still the best weapon for the Colts. The Jags are different. They're more balanced, I feel like. They don't have all their eggs in that particular kind of basket. So who do you have winning this one?
Well, on that note, I mean, the Jags are Trevor Lawrence. It's not Trevor Lawrence throwing for 500 yards. They're Trevor Lawrence. It's not Trevor Lawrence, Josh Allening his way into the end zone. It's Trevor Lawrence not making mistakes, right? It's Trevor Lawrence not throwing the game away, which will be very interesting in this game to see. One of the things I think that has been interesting with the Colts is at the beginning of the season, you don't know what strength of schedule really looks like. You don't know who's a good team or not.
Yeah.
And the reality is that their first part of the season was not a particularly hard schedule. They beat the Broncos and they beat the Chargers. Every other playoff team they've played, they've lost to. The Rams, Steelers, Chiefs, Texans. So we're getting a real test, and that's a test that lasts to the end of the season. They still have Jags, Seahawks, Niners, Jags, Texans. That's all hard games all the way through to the end of the season. We're going to really get to see who they are. I think this is a very, very balanced game. I keep going back and forth. I would say from a stability point of view, I would probably pick the Colts. I think that there's less highs and less lows for them. They can definitely put some points on the board and produce some offense. The Jags, I feel like they are so gutsy. But I do think that overall, Indianapolis' offense is more predictable than the Jaguars' ability to stop opponents. Now, again, that's a Colts offense, as we just said, against a bunch of teams that aren't necessarily high-end teams per se. But yeah, I would say this is a flip the coin kind of a game. I think this is a one mistake kind of game between these two teams. I guess right now I would put that the Colts don't make that mistake and the Jags do. I guess we'll wait and see.
Yeah, I guess we'll wait and see. I believe historically the Colts have some issue with the Jags, but we'll see. Those don't always hold. All right. I think I'd probably pick it the same way, by the way. I think I'd pick the Colts, but I don't feel super confident in it as this, projection should. That's exactly how you should feel. So hope you didn't feel super comfortable because I believe the next game is also rather close. So you got the Commanders going to play the Vikings. This doesn't feel like it should be this close in a projection, but somehow we've got the Commanders favored in a game over the Vikings. It is worth noting that the last I heard was that the Vikings are expecting J.J. McCarthy to come back and play. And the Commanders, I think they're still just going with Marcus Mariota. They've played respectably in some of their games, but they are finding ways to lose more often than not. So who do you have winning this one?
Yeah, I mean, the short version is if it's Marcus Mariota, I'm picking the other team. I might even do that if it was the Titans. At first it felt like, well, he's got people close into games, and he does keep his team relatively in the game, it seems like, but man, he's making some pretty wild moments out of winnable moments. So I'll take the Vikings to win this one at home. I don't trust their quarterback play at all. I really don't. I trust their quarterback play considerably less than I do Marcus Mariota, but I trust their defense a lot. Their defense might single-handedly win this game.
Yeah.
So that would be my bet, is that the Vikings pull this one out in what will be a close game.
Yeah, I think they're set up for some success here. This whole it's a meme, but it's this whole 9 alter ego JJ McCarthy thing, where it seems to be causing problems. And this is a good game. Pardon me. This is a good game for that idea. Is that you don't need to be that. You don't need to try to turn into whatever, some superhero. You just be you. Be the game manager. Let your run game cook. Let your defense do its thing. And just throw the ball about 25 times and don't turn it over 25 times. And you should still win this game. So you don't need to be no 9. We do not need any more of that. So,
Amen.
Yeah, I would agree. All right. Then we get an AFC East matchup here. We got the Dolphins going to play the Jets. The Jets still have a little spring in their step, I feel like. Tyrod Taylor has got that team humming. Not humming is the wrong word, but they've got them playing respectably. And I kind of appreciate it. He kind of reminds me a little bit of maybe I should watch it more closely, but I wanted to say he reminds me a little bit of Jacoby Brissett, was like this older veteran journeyman kind of guy who's not afraid to play the ball 35 times, 40 times in a game, if that's what his team needs to do. So he's got them at least being a passable football team. On the other side of this, we've got the kind of low-key, surging-ish Dolphins. They have played pretty well their last few weeks. Now, as I go back and watch their games, I will say they do not look dominant by any means, but they are finding ways to win. They're kind of like the Arizona Cardinals, but they are finding ways to win rather than finding ways to lose. So credit where credit's due. Who do you have winning this game?
Yeah, this is such a quandary between these two teams. On the emotional side of it, it feels like, well, the Dolphins may not be a good team, but they at least have a functioning offense, right? Like they've got something going there. But realistically, there's 1 point difference between these two teams all year. And it's really their defenses that have been the difference in the story, and the Jets have been on the wrong side of that. It's a divisional matchup. I think this is going to be a tough game. I think it's going to be a tough game for both teams. I expect it to be much, much closer than this. I just don't trust the Dolphins. I really don't. If Tyrod Taylor can just keep out of trouble, I think the Jets may stick in this one and pull out a win here. I'm going to take the risky bet, and I'm going to pick the Jets in this one. I think that they're hungry. I think that the Dolphins make a lot of mistakes, and you just don't know who the quarterback is that's showing up for the Dolphins week to week. I know that they have played some really impressive games lately against the Bills, namely, but I still just don't trust them. I'm going to pick the Jets in this one.
Okay. Yeah, it'll be interesting. The Dolphins are one of those kind of those surging teams. Now Dallas has been surging ever since just before, the bye week, basically. And so now they're looking at a playoff run. The Dolphins are one of those teams that has that crazy path in front of them if they can pull it off. And so it's kind of exciting to watch them, but at the same time, I just don't see them putting it together very often. They're still kind of banged up as well. So I thought I was going to sneak one in on you here because I was going to pick the Jets, but you did the same thing. So darn it. All right, next we've got the Saints going to play the Buccaneers in a game that I don't think is going to be very hard to pick. I like a little bit of what I see from Tyler Shuck, but it's just not enough yet, and the team as a whole doesn't seem to be working. And I think Alvin Kamara, I think, has been out, and he's going to remain out, I believe, last I heard. Tampa Bay, not exactly shooting the lights out. They snuck away with the win over my pathetic Arizona Cardinals, but they did get the win. So if they can start to just slowly but surely get a little healthier, obviously they got Becky Irving back.
Yeah.
Should this team continue to win, will they win this week?
Yeah, I agree with you. Tyler Shuck may be fun to watch, but that's about it on that team. Their offense is pretty legendarily terrible at this point in time. They strand their defense all the time out on the field for the whole game. I think this is the banged up Bucs chance to kind of get healthy again. It's good to see Bucky Irving back. I think he'll run all over the Saints. So yep, I'll take the Bucs.
Yeah, solid chance there. So we'll see what the Bucs can do. Stay relevant in that division. And of course, they've got the Panthers chasing them like crazy. So here we go. All right, then we got the Bengals going to play the Bills. Bengals got Joe Burrow back and managed to put together a pretty impressive win over the Baltimore Ravens. And the Bills aren't exactly dominating these days. I don't really feel like this should be as lopsided as it is. I'm not even sure it should be swayed the way that it is. Who do you have winning this game?
Yeah, I think that I'm a game away from really having much faith yet in the Bengals. Like, I have faith in Joe Burrow. I just don't know where the rest of the team is, even with him. It's a good game. It's a good game against old rivals there that they played out. The Bills have been very up and down these last few weeks, but they did manhandle the Steelers pretty hard. Now, granted, that's the Steelers with banged up quarterback things going on and all of that, but still, I think I'm sticking with the Bills here. I'm a week away from trusting the Bengals much yet at this point. I think the Bills know they have to show up and they have to win. That their division has gotten wildly out of hand, so they've got to stay in it. So, I'll take the Bills.
Picking the Bills. Yeah, I think I'm kind of picking the Bengals, but I don't know that. I mean, I'm a little bit biased. I've been something of a Bengals fan, tertiary team for a while. And so I'm tempted to pick them here, but we'll see moving forward. Hopefully it'll at least be a good game. It's good to see Joe Burrow back. All right, then we got the Broncos going to play the Raiders. As much as this is a division matchup, it just feels like way too good versus really not all that good at all. The Broncos have done a little bit of sneaking away with some wins, but it's, you can copy and paste back to some of the stuff I said about the Dolphins, except way better, which is there's some credit to be had to a team that has close games and they win them. This is a focal point for Cardinals fans this year. So, like, they are that team that gets in close games but comes out with the win. And the Raiders just don't have much going on. Brock Bowers is probably the best tight end in the league, and that hurts me a little to say as a Trey McBride fan, but it is what it is at this point. That man's amazing.
Yeah.
But they just don't have much else, and they don't have the O-line to get anything out of Ashton Janty. Their defense, of course, they've got Max Crosby, and he's amazing, but he's just one dude. So do the Raiders have any shot of winning this game?
I mean, they really shouldn't. I would think that this would need to be one of those, and it happens to people where quarterback throws 3-4 interceptions. I think it would need to be that kind of a game for Bo Nix for this game to end up in the Raiders' favor. You never try to discount or count out division kind of rivals and all of that, but even with that, it's like, man, it just would take a lot. This is easily the Broncos game to lose for sure.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. It'd be entertaining to see somehow the Raiders pull this one off, but
that'd be wild.
I have a hard time even painting the picture of how that happens. So,
yeah, I don't think they'll be the ones to stop the 9-game winning streak.
No, not
see.
Yet. Not just yet.
I think they'd love to, though.
We get one of the best games of the week, maybe the best game of the week. We got the Bears going to play the Packers. Do the Packers still own the Bears is the big question here. The Bears, for real, can they beat good teams? They beat the Eagles not too long ago. It was a nice win for them. The Packers are kind of finding their form again, but I don't know why I'm not all the way back on them being this dominant team just yet. Who do you have winning this lovely NFC North game?
Well, I feel like every week we keep asking, and everybody, I think it's even illustrated here, like, but are they real? Are the Bears real? Is this luck? Is this? And you and I used to talk about, like, if it happens regularly, it's probably not luck. At some point in time, you've got to rule out luck as a probability, and that no, they're a really good football team. The Bears, I think, are a really good football team at this point in time. I still am not overwhelmed by their defense. I don't really overly trust their defense. I think they've been playing better in these last 5 games, which is part of their 5-game win streak. On the other side of the ball, the Packers have had some real ups and downs. They lost to a couple playoff teams. They did come back and beat up on the Lions. This is a tough one. I'm taking the Bears right now to continue riding their high. I think Caleb has played really well. The defense has been playing much better. They seem to be kind of figuring it all out, putting it all together at the same time. There's a lot of team energy going towards, like, maintaining this. I think it's the Bears' game to lose, even in Green Bay.
Yeah, it should be really interesting. We'll see how cold it is there this week. I know I meant to bring it up what the Cowboys game is. I think it's 25 in Detroit right now, so it could really make some difference in how that game is played. But yeah, so for this game, one interesting thing was, the Bears put up like 300 rushing yards against the Eagles, and that's this weird. No one's expecting this. I mean, who in the world is Kyle Manungai? And it's just, oh, well, he's kind of awesome. It's who he is. And DeAndre Swift turned back into Alabama. DeAndre Swift, I think he's no, excuse me, he had been in Georgia. Excuse me. But he turned back into SEC, wherever he went to school, kind of guy where he was just dominant. And can they get that run game going again against this good Packers team? Because that's going to shape this game quite well if they can. If they can't, then everything rests on Caleb Williams, and they got to go that route. But yeah, I think this could be really good. I'm not opposed to picking the Bears at all. So, all right. Next, we've got a real great-looking game. We've got the Rams going to play my Cardinals. The Rams are playing pretty darn well right now. Their only recent loss is being the Seattle Seahawks in that crazy close game. Matt Stafford has kind of come down to earth a little bit, but he is still playing plenty well, and he's looking like the MVP. I will say last year, the Cardinals played the Rams quite well. We beat them in one game, and even at the end of the season, we lost that game. It was very close. So it feels like a kind of matchup where we've played well against them. Their style doesn't seem to just counter us perfectly. Like Seattle is a problem for us, clearly. The Rams don't seem to be a problem for us stylistically. I do see this being another close game. And mathematically, it seems like we'll walk away with a win somehow, somewhere closing out the season.
Yeah.
But this doesn't feel like that game. So who do you have winning this one?
Well, I think we've been talking for the last few weeks about how the Rams, their real strength is not making mistakes. They don't beat themselves. They go to play Carolina, and the next thing you know, Matt Stafford throws a couple of interceptions, and they're losing the ball, and all of a sudden they are not winning against a team that I don't think many people, including us, really saw walking out of there with that win. The Cardinals play really close games, not always within their division, but everywhere else they play really close one score games, and that's not a lot of room for error. So I don't know. Is there something going on with Matt Stafford? If they don't play a pretty tight game here, I think that this could be potentially an upset. But it's easily the Rams games to lose. They're going to need to make those mistakes. I mean, even with all the mistakes that they made in the Carolina game, that was a game that went down to the very end. So I think that they're going to need to make a few mistakes for the Cardinals to capitalize. But I do think the Cardinals are fairly poised to capitalize should the opportunity arise.
So you're picking the Rams. That's what I was saying.
I'm sorry. All of that to say I'm picking the Rams, yeah.
I would too. I can't trust the Cardinals. Be like, oh, it could be close. And others, I just can't. I can't do it. There's reason to believe that we could make this one a close one. And yeah, with my mistake, the Rams losing a couple of their more recent games, there's some reason to think maybe they're coming down to earth just a little bit. But all that being said, they are way too consistent and just well coached, and I don't trust it. There is some word, I will throw this in there, that Trey Benson may play this week. The Cardinals are, infuriatingly quiet and secretive about people who are coming back from injury and such. So I guess they're trying for the sake of gamesmanship, but we don't really know. So Trey Benson may come back and play, and that could make a little difference. We'll see. All right, then we've got another good game, back to the actual good games. We've got the Texans going to the Chiefs. Texans playing really well right now, making, there's this big challenge in the AFC South between Jacksonville and the Colts, but like right behind them, and I mean just right behind them, is the Houston Texans, who have found some ways to win some games. They're not exactly playing like a juggernaut, but their defense is as mean as it comes. You got the Kansas City Chiefs, who don't seem like they're interested in either winning 2 games in a row or losing 2 games in a row. And I think they've done that streak most of the year. So coming off of that loss against Dallas on Thanksgiving, who do you have winning this game?
Yeah, it's a tough one. Houston's had a rough patch of games where they played a lot of playoff teams. They've lost to Denver, but they've won against all the other ones. The Seahawks kind of started that run, and then they've won 4 of those games against playoff caliber teams. They're playing really good football, and their defense is very, very scary right now. Like their defense has the right personnel, but they haven't been clicking all season. Now they're clicking right now. They're very scary, and Pat does not like to get hit. So I think that there's a real chance for the defense to be the hero of this game. I think the Chiefs are already a little banged up and frustrated. I also think there's going to start being some desperation in the way that they play, because they have to win from here on out. And I think with the Texans, I still don't really trust what's going on with their offense. They still are not operating the way that I feel like they should be. But they're getting it done. They're getting it done, and they're finding the ways to win right now. I'm actually going to take Houston. I think I just enjoy right now just taking all the underdogs in these. But I like the way that Houston's playing, and I do think that as the Chiefs get more desperate, if they get down by a score or 2, I think that this game could get real ugly for them, because it's going to push Pat to have to do some stuff he probably doesn't really need or want to do.
Yeah, it could be interesting. I don't know that I'd pick the Texans where I'm picking, but I will say the Chiefs gave up a solid amount of pressures and quarterback hits and sacks and such against Dallas, who has ascended to a pretty darn good pass rush, but I don't know that I'd call them elite.
Sure.
The Texans are absolutely elite, so we'll see how they do protecting against Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson. So that should be one of the better games. And Sunday night, it's worthy of a Sunday night game. Good job. Good job, NFL. All right, then we got closing out Monday night. We've got the Eagles going to play the Chargers. Eagles kind of reeling from that last loss, I believe, but they're still the Eagles. They still got a ton of talent on that roster. And then you got the Chargers, who have kind of returned to they're always injured, it seems like, the LA Chargers. So we'll see. I did hear that Amari Hampton is expected to come back and play this week, which should be a nice little bump for their run game. You know, the Eagles just gave up 300 rushing yards or thereabouts to the Chicago Bears just recently. So can the Chargers find a way to pull this one off? You're on a roll with picking underdogs, except for the Cardinals, of course. And who do you have winning this game?
Yeah, I think this should be a really fascinating game for a lot of reasons. I think the Eagles are reeling. They have played very. It's not just that they've lost. They really didn't play particularly well, I don't think, in either game. Definitely not against the Bears. Things are not on offense specifically. Things are not working correctly there, and they really haven't been. And it's been storied. People have been talking about it for a while now. But their defense is starting to crack some. Teams are able to get through. The Chargers are challenging. They've been winning a lot of games against teams they should probably beat. And then they've lost the game against the Jags, and they got absolutely manhandled in that game. They're tough. With that being said, I'm actually going to probably do the same. I'm probably going to pick the Chargers. You can chalk it up to being a Dallas Cowboys fan. That's fine. But I do think they're going to put points on the board. The other question mark in this game is I think Herbert had an issue in his non-throwing hand, as I recall. I want to say they're doing some stuff. I remember in my mind thinking that this is similar-ish to the Aaron Rodgers situation where he can still play potentially or throw, I think. But I wonder how much impact that will have. And I do think they will need their running game. So Hampton being back would be a huge, huge bonus for them going into that game against the Eagles. Again, I think the Eagles are going to be playing a little stressed. Their defense is going to be pressing hard because they know they can't give up a lot of points because their offense has not got it figured out. Even with A.J. Brown being kind of rescinded of his past self and how he used to play, they're still not winning. So, I think it's a big game for the Eagles. But I'll take the Chargers to pull off an upset here. We'll just go all upsets, except for, as you point out, the Cardinals.
Of course, never. We're never that crazy. Okay, well, yeah, it should be a good game. Nice way to close out the week. I will say the Chargers have one of the worst offensive lines right now in football. So if the Eagles need a get-right game for their pass rush, they are prime for the picking. But on the other side of this, if they can get Amari Hampton going, and they still have Vidal, who's been playing quite admirably, then that might alleviate some of that pressure. So I guess we'll see what they can do. But fun slate of games this week. A lot of close matchups. It's not all just projected blowouts all the time. So there'd be some really good ones, a lot of playoff implications. So thanks, everyone, for joining us. We are trying to get to 200 subscribers. So if you're willing to give us a like and a subscribe, it's much appreciated. Tell us down in the comments who you have winning a specific game. If you think we're crazy for picking one of these upsets that we picked, because it was just fun to do so. But yeah, let us know what you're thinking. I hope that you had a good Thanksgiving and you're ready to close out the season really well with us, and you join us again. So until that time, I hope you have a fantastic day.